Hey, hello everybody. Hope everybody's doing well during this time of still quarantine and protesting. Tonight's dinner is going to be what I call smothered pork chops. And what I'm going to be using is the T-bone pork chops, which I talked about in a previous video. And for those who didn't see the video, the pork chop is like a T-bone steak. It's got a filet mignon piece on one side of the T, and on the other side is kind of like the New York strip. These are really tender. This is more tender than this. But what I'm going to do tonight is braise them. And the ingredients I'm going to use are chops. I'm also going to season these chops with camp mix. A friend of mine, a good friend of mine, Wanda, found this one time, and she told me about it. And so she sent me a one of these. I've tried it. What I really like about this camp mix, it's a combination of garlic, onion, black pepper salt, celery salt, and white pepper. It works for anything you want to season. Any kind of meat. You can even use this on a salad of some sort. I love this thing. I keep like 6 bottles on hand. It's a great ingredient. The other ingredients are seasoned flour, and I normally keep about 2 to 3 cups of seasoned flour already prepped and ready to go. So this has some salt, some pepper, and some garlic and onion powder. I've got 2 eggs that I've beaten for a wash, and I've got some seasoned Panko crumbs. So what I'm going to do with these for starters is season them. Number 1. I didn't brine these. I don't need to brine these because they're going to be braised and simmered for a bit. So I got it on one side. You know, pork is pretty bland, so you want to season them pretty liberally. Okay. So now I'm going to dredge them into the seasoned flour. Shake off the excess. You want to dip them in the egg. Excess. I want to get them, coat them nice and good. Okay. And then into the seasoned panko crumbs. Now, once I complete both of these, I'm just going to put this in the fridge until I'm ready. It's, you know, for me, it's all about the prep work, getting the prep work done early so you don't have to spend so much time at one time in the kitchen. And then I'm going to put them in that pan there. So same thing again. Flour, seasoned flour. I'm also going to use some of this flour to make a roux, and I'll show you that a little bit later when I get to it, to thicken up the sauce. And there'll be some more ingredients into the gravy. So the smothered part, I call them smothered pork chops, is because I'm going to also add into there some sliced onions and some sliced mushrooms. That'll be in the gravy there. Look, I always see if I put just enough panko crumbs. This is kind of a little game I play sometimes to see if I just have just enough to do the ones that I need so I don't ever have to take them out because, you know, it's all contaminated now, but the rest of it will go down. Garbage. Need some more in there. What's that? Okay. All right, so I'm going to wash my hands. And as you can see, Donnie's probably got the camera there at the pork chops. So I'm going to put these into the fridge, and these are about, I don't know, what would you say, Donnie? Maybe almost an inch thick?
Almost an inch, yeah.
Almost an inch thick.
Good size.
Yeah. So that'll be it for now, and when I come back, I'll be doing the onions. I'll actually first be searing the pork chops into my black skillet, and then I'll take them out. I want to get them nice and brown on both sides. Take them out and saute the onions and the mushrooms with some Marsala wine, and then some chicken stock, put it all back together, let it simmer for about 30 minutes on a very low heat, and 30 to 40 minutes until they're fork tender, and they will be. I'm gonna serve some garlic mash on the side. Not sure about the veggie yet. I made a couple of salads, a green bean salad, and I don't know, that's the only salad. So I'm going to see what I'm going to do. I originally wanted to do some scalloped potatoes with this dinner, but we were running around shopping all day, and I said, nah, I'll do them tomorrow, the scalloped potatoes. Okay? So, those are going to be amazing, guarantee it. And we'll check in you later. Toodaloo. Hey, so I'm ready now. It's about a couple of hours later. Donnie and I have been watching a great show on Netflix called Queen of the South. It has to do with a Latina who is head of the drug cartel. It's wonderful. Okay, so now I'm going to take my pork chops and I'm just going to pan sear them. Ooh, all that oil. Okay, nice sizzle. Ow. Okay, so I'm going to I'm going to sear these for a couple of minutes on each side. I really don't want to cook them through. I want to get a nice sear, and I'm not even going to flip them until I'm ready to flip them. I'm not even going to, go back and forth. Get a nice sear on each side, then I'm going to take them out, and then I'll take it to the next step of the onions and the mushrooms. But no point in sitting here watching this video go on for the rest, for the next 4 or 5 minutes. So they're going to sear, and when we come back, I'll be taking them out and taking to the next step with the mushrooms and the onions, and I'm going to saute them for a bit with a little bit of salt and pepper, and then add some Marsala wine to cook that out. So we'll be back in a few minutes. Okay, look, we're back. So the chops have seared to a nice brown on each side, the nice brown. I'm going to take them out. They're not cooked by any means, but I'm going to just let them sit there for a bit, because now I'm going to take my sliced mushrooms and sliced onions and add them right in. I'm going to get me a different spoon, so hold on. Okay, I'm back. Now, you might say, wow, there's a lot of oil that's in there, and there is, and that's okay. I could have taken some oil out, and, excuse me, Donnie. I could have taken some oil out and just, removed it. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to add enough flour, seasoned flour, to make a roux. So I probably will have more gravy than I need, but sometimes if we have like leftover mashed potatoes, sometimes we're just like, wow, we got some gravy left, we'll throw it in there. That's right. So I'm never worried about making too much gravy. Okay, so what I'm going to add to this at this point is a little bit of salt, just a smidgen of salt, really not that much. And I'm going to add in some thyme. Now, I usually would prefer fresh thyme, but I ran out, I didn't look. So I'm going to use a little bit of dried thyme. And you can just, that's probably about a teaspoon, and that'll be fine. So I'm going to saute these until they get a little bit more softened, and then I'm going to add in some Marsala wine, which is going to give it some really nice flavor into the gravy of it, so to speak. So we'll let this saute for a bit, and we'll be back in a bit. All right, so as you can see, well, you didn't see, but I just put in some of the Marsala wine, and we're going to let that cook off for a bit. I want to kind of boil the alcohol off a bit. I'll let that sit. And once that sits for a minute or two and boils off, I'm going to add in some of the seasoned flour that I saved from the pork chop when I dredged it in, and then I put it into the egg wash and then into the Panko crumbs. So I'm going to put some of this, I'm going to make a roux, thicken it up, and then I have 2 cups of chicken stock. Now, hold it right there, Jordan. Chicken stock. Now, I really love this brand called Better Than Bouillon. and it's roasted chicken base. It really has a much better flavor, in my opinion, than your standard Swanson's or you know, your regular chicken stock that you get from your market. I really like this much
I agree.
better. I do have in that better than bouillon. I also have a beef base. I have a ham base, which really works well if you want to make a soup, a ham-based soup, like white beans, let's say northern beans, and you want to add some smoked ham shanks in there, which I do. I'll use a couple of cups of the broth, which is like this. So it's like 2 teaspoons to 2 cups, and then I'll add a little bit of water so it's not too much infused with ham, but it's really a nice soup base to use. It also comes with lobster, garlic. I've got a whole slew of them in the pantry. Okay, so now I'm going to add in the seasoned flour. We're going to get a little bit of a roux kind of going here, right? Want to thicken it up. And you want to cook off the flour so that it's not raw. You want to get rid of that raw taste. Well, this is looking perfect. Okay. So I'm going to let this sit for a minute because I need to grab some brown sugar from the pantry. So hold on. You say brown sugar. Yeah, brown sugar, and you don't need to add much, but it adds a nice, just a hint of some sweetness to this whole gravy. Okay, now I'm going to add in the chicken broth. Going to add a little bit at a time. A little bit at a time. And then once you see that it kind of starts to evaporate, right? Starts to thicken up again, add a little bit more. We want to get to the point where it has a really nice smooth gravy. Now remember, we got onions, we got mushrooms, we have a little bit of salt. Of course, there's the seasoned flour in here, as well as some Marsala wine. And we're still not done yet with all the flavors that are going to be added into here. Okay. Now I made 2 cups worth. Am I going to use all 2? Don't really know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes and how it thickens up. It's looking good. I don't know where I got this recipe from. You remember, Donnie? I don't know where I found it. All I remember was I loved pork chops. I think I, had for breakfast some pork chops and gravy and the mushrooms and the onions. And then I thought, wow, how can I make this myself? Looked online, looked at a few recipes, decided to pull the ingredients that I liked, that I really liked from it, and kind of made it my own, I guess.
All I know, all said and done, it's terrific.
I know. One time I had my sister over and she said, Gwen, you're not going to like this, but my sister Gwen said that was the best effing chop I've ever had.
I remember that.
So I know it was really good. I've done this many, many, many times. It's kind of foolproof. So now that we have this gravy at the thickness that it is, I'm going to add in, hold on one second here. I'm going to add in just a little bit of brown sugar, just a smidgen, just like a little teaspoon there. You don't want it really too sweet, but it does add another flavor to it. All right. So the next step is going to be for me to add the pork chops right back in. So I'm just going to nestle them in there. Just like so. I'm going to turn the heat down. I've turned it down to a little less than medium. I probably really want to go down to like a medium low. And we're not quite done, but I'm going to let it now simmer for, you know, probably 30 minutes. It could be longer, it may not be. These are pretty thick chops, so it might sit in a little longer. But I certainly don't want this type of bubbling. It's too much of a simmer. It's too much of a simmer. So I'm going to turn it down a bit. And with these types of stoves, it can take a, you know, it's not like a gas stove, and I miss my gas stove. These electric stoves here take a little bit longer to turn down, for the heat to go down. So I'm going to turn it down a bit.
And will you turn them over?
No, I'm not going to turn them over at all, because I really want that crispiness to stay right onto that chop. Now, when I serve it, I certainly will serve it and then put some gravy over it, but I want that crispiness to stay there as long as possible.
All right.
So don't you just love my my cast iron skillet lid? This is actually a stock pot lid, and I got rid of the stock pot, but I love this thing. It works just fine. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to let it sit for a while. Probably another 30 minutes. I'll come back and we'll check on it. And I got some mashed potatoes sitting here waiting to come up to. I want my potatoes to be done right when my pork chops are done. I like everything to come out at one time. It's all nice and warm, and you know, that's the way I like to do it. So we'll be back a little bit later when things start to come together. See you in a bit. Okay, the meal is done. Pan down, Donnie. So I've plated the mashed potato and the pork chop, and so I'm going to cut into this here. There's a bone on that side, so let me do it on this side. Okay. I don't know how much you can see that there. I got to get me some gravy, some mashed potato here. Okay, here we go. It is really so tender. But that's the part of the T-bone pork chop. The gravy's really good. The mashed potatoes are good. I've done this many times. I know Donnie's gonna love this one.
I sure am.
That's really good.
I can't
The
wait
only
to
thing I
dig
didn't
in.
do this time was right towards the end, I usually add like a little splash of apple cider vinegar. I forgot to do it. It's still wonderful. It's still wonderful. It's 8:30, believe it or not. So we need to eat. So we'll see you next time. If you like this recipe, please subscribe, like, and share. See you next time.